Hey everyone, welcome back to Retro Reel Recaps. Today, we are talking about the movie Freelance. It's a story of an ex-Special Forces operative whose simple bodyguard gig erupts into a chaotic fight for survival where he must protect a charismatic dictator and a tenacious journalist from a deadly coup. First, we meet our main character, Mason Pettits. He tells us about his life. When he was young, he could not figure out what he wanted to do. He felt lost. He went to college and started law school. But it quickly became boring for him, so he decided to leave. Next, he joined the US Army. For the first time, he knew what he was meant to do. He felt happy and full of life. Around this time, he married a woman named Jenny Pettits, and they had a baby girl. Then one day, Mason and his army team get a command. They must go to a country named Palonia. Their goal is to capture the dictator, President Juan Venegas. But the mission goes very wrong. A missile hits their helicopter. Because of this, most of the soldiers in his team are killed. Mason lives, but his back is hurt forever. After this bad event, the army tells Mason he has to leave. He has to return to a normal life. He has no other options, so he finishes law school. He begins working as a lawyer. Once again, he feels that his life has no purpose. This feeling starts to cause problems in his marriage and his home life. Next, we see Mason in his office. He is very annoyed. His old boss from the army, Sebastian Earl, shows up. They are both pleased to see each other after so many years. Sebastian says he needs to talk about something serious. He then brings Mason to his own office. There he tells Mason that he began his own private security company. It is named CDI. He wants Mason to work for him. He explains that an American woman who is a reporter is going to Palonia. She will interview President Venegas. Mason must go with her to keep her safe. When Mason hears this, he says no right away. The reason is that Venegas caused the death of his friends and ruined his army life. After everything that happened, he does not know why Sebastian would work for a man like that. Sebastian offers him $20,000. He also says he knows how unhappy Mason is with his lawyer job. Mason tells him he is not as powerful as he used to be, and that his back injury will always be there. But Sebastian does not stop asking him. Finally, Mason says yes to the job, but he is not happy about it. After that, Mason looks up information on the female reporter. Her name is Claire Wellington. She was once a very well-known journalist, but she made a big mistake in her work a long time ago. This mistake made her lose her famous status. Since that time, it has been hard for her to find important work. Now, she finally has an opportunity to interview a very famous but also very bad dictator politician. That night, Mason and his wife Jenny have a fight. They discover that their daughter hit another child at school because she followed her father's advice. Jenny is very upset. She feels she cannot stay with Mason anymore because he is making their family unhappy. She says she will go live with her parents. But Mason stops her and says that he will be the one to leave. He then tells her he is going to work as a security guard. This makes Jenny even angrier. Still, she finally allows him to go. She thinks this trip might help him solve his personal problems and maybe save their marriage, which is falling apart. The following day, Mason goes to get Claire. At first, Claire thinks Mason is there because he wants her autograph. But Mason quickly corrects her and explains that he is her bodyguard for the trip to Palonia. Claire acts very proud and tells Mason to carry her bag for her. Mason does not want to, but he agrees. They get in a car and go to the airport, then they get on a plane to Palonia together. During the trip, Mason watches some funny, mean videos about Claire on the internet, and she sees him doing this. She asks him if he is laughing at her. Mason tells her that is not what he is doing. She then says that no matter what mistakes she made before, she plans to make her reputation good again. She tells him that the president of Palonia, Venegas, has not talked to any reporters for 10 years. But he asked her personally for this interview, so it is a very important moment for her career. A short time later, they land in Palonia. President Venegas himself is there to meet them. He kisses Claire's hand and tells her that she is more beautiful than Aphrodite. Venegas continues to flirt with Claire, and Mason does not like this at all. However, Claire seems pleased by the attention. Then they all get into a car and drive towards the president's palace in the city. Claire introduces Mason to Venegas. Venegas says he has already looked into Mason and knows he used to be an army officer. After this, Claire and Venegas keep talking and drinking together, and they act as if Mason is not even there. Mason does not like being ignored like this. While they are driving, a group of hired soldiers suddenly attacks them. Some of Venegas' own soldiers are killed right away. Both Venegas and Claire are in a state of shock. Mason is surprised by this because Sebastian told him this job would be very easy and safe. Claire yells at Mason, telling him to take action, so Mason moves into the driver's seat and tells Venegas and Claire to get in the back. He fights back by shooting at the people attacking them. He manages to stop all the attackers, but he also wrecks their car in the process. Mason gets out of the car walking with a limp. Venegas and Claire are amazed by how good he is at fighting. Venegas keeps complimenting him. But Mason is annoyed and says he and Claire are leaving immediately. Claire says she has to do the interview first because it is a very, very big chance for her career. but Mason tells her that staying alive is more important than her job. After this, the three of them go into the jungle. Mason calls Sebastian to tell him about the attack. Sebastian sounds very surprised. Then Mason tells him that he killed all those attackers by himself. Mason says they are stuck in the jungle and need to get out. Sebastian promises him that he will send a helicopter with his own men to rescue them. A little later, Venegas asks for the phone. He calls his nephew, Jorge Vasquez. Jorge is very scared to hear that his uncle is still alive. This is because Jorge was the person who sent the hired soldiers to kill him. Venegas tells his nephew that they were attacked and that he is now lost in the woods. After he ends the call, Venegas tells Claire and Mason that he knows his nephew Jorge planned this. But he says that Jorge is just a helper who is taking orders from another more important person. Later, Venegas says they should try to go to the capital city. However, Mason says a helicopter is coming to get them and they will be leaving soon. He then takes Claire with him and they walk away, leaving Venegas behind. As they walk, Claire asks Mason to let her do the interview first, but he says no and does not want to talk about it. Soon after, they see a helicopter arriving and they feel happy, thinking they can finally go home. But Mason quickly understands that something is not right. He sees two soldiers with guns coming out of the helicopter, and the helicopter is not landing. Mason warns Claire and they begin to run back toward the jungle. Right away, both the armed soldiers and the helicopter begin to chase them and shoot at them. Mason and Claire run to save their lives. The helicopter flies low above them and starts shooting missiles. Bullets are flying everywhere, but Mason and Claire just manage to get away. They reach the edge of a river. Claire is in a state of shock, but Mason tells her to stay calm. Mason then holds Claire and they go across the river. Claire tries to keep her cell phone dry and out of the water. While they are crossing the river, the helicopter shoots at them again. Luckily it misses, and Mason and Claire make it to the other side. As they keep running, Mason sees the helicopter is turning around to come back for another attack. Mason finds a good spot and gets ready to shoot at the helicopter with his machine gun. But Mason has not practiced shooting in a long time. Still, he is able to aim and fire at the helicopter. Claire records this with her cell phone. At first, Mason thinks his shots did not hit the helicopter. But then he sees that he has shot the pilot. Mason is happy, but he soon gets scared because the helicopter is going to crash right on top of them. They start running again. While they are running, Mason and Claire get separated from each other. Claire is very afraid. As she calls out for Mason, one of the soldiers finds her. The soldier is about to shoot Claire when Mason suddenly jumps on him. A hard fight starts, and both Mason and the soldier punch each other. In the end, Mason wins the fight. Claire thanks Mason, but then she quickly warns Mason about the other armed men, but it is too late. The soldier hits Mason on the head with his gun. Then, something surprising happens. Venegas shows up and he shoots the soldier who is about to shoot Mason. As Claire is trying to understand what just happened, Venegas flirts with her again. He gently wipes her face with his handkerchief. Mason is annoyed and asks Venegas where he was. Venegas then shows Mason his gun. Mason thanks Venegas for helping them, but Venegas is more interested in talking to Claire. A short time later, Jorge and his men arrive. Jorge is angry when he sees the destroyed helicopter. Right then, the leader of the hired soldiers, Colonel Jan Kohorst, shows up. He yells at Jorge for not being able to kill his uncle. Jorge says that the hired soldiers also failed in their job. Kohorst becomes angry and warns Jorge that he will kill him if he fails again. Meanwhile, Venegas brings Mason and Claire to the village where he grew up. The people living there respect him a lot. Venegas tells Mason and Claire that these people are all his friends and his family. One of Venegas' friends acts friendly with Claire, just like Venegas did when they first met. After a while, they decide to do the interview with Venegas right there. Claire shows Mason how to work the camera. Then she sits down with Venegas for their talk and Mason records them. Claire brings up the attack from earlier. She asks why the hired soldiers are trying to kill him. Venegas explains that Palonia has a lot of a special mineral called lanthanide. This mineral is very important for making phones, laptops, and other modern technology. Big companies from other countries want to come to Palonia to dig up this mineral, but digging for it would damage the land and the environment. If foreign companies take the mineral and sell it, the country will lose a lot of money. So Venegas is stopping all foreign companies from coming into Palonia. This has made him an enemy of some very powerful people. Because of this, he is being attacked by soldiers and fighters who are paid by these outside forces. Venegas says he will do anything to protect the wealth of Palonia. The people in the village cheer for him after he says this. That night, Claire, Mason, and Venegas have a good time. They party and dance with the people from the village. Later, Claire goes to talk to Mason. After Mason saved her life, she has started to like him. Claire tries to get Mason to be romantic with her, but Mason says no in a nice way. Claire asks Mason if he loves his wife. Mason says yes. Mason tells Claire that he cannot be with her in that way. Claire understands how Mason feels and she goes away. The next day, as they prepare to go, Mason calls Sebastian. He asks Sebastian why he really picked him for this job. At first Sebastian does not want to say, but Mason keeps asking. So Sebastian tells the truth. He says he actually sent Mason to kill Venegas. He wanted revenge for the death of their army friends. He says that very important people have told him to get rid of Venegas. Those soldiers in the helicopter were not supposed to hurt Mason or Claire. They were only there to kill Venegas. This makes Mason angry. He ends the call. After this, Mason calls his own home. His daughter answers the phone. She tells him that she misses him, and that her mother is very sad. Mason then talks to his wife, Jenny. She is happy to hear his voice. She says she is sorry for their fight and asks him to come home safely. Mason tells Jenny that he loves her very much. He tells her he will be home soon. This makes Jenny emotional. After the call, Mason goes to Venegas and Claire. He says they need to leave right away. But before they can get away, Cohorst arrives with his men. They start to scare the people in the village. So Mason gets on a horse with Venegas, and they ride away. Claire also gets on a horse and starts to ride, but she falls off. Cohorst's men catch her. Mason sees this and is worried. But Venegas tells him not to worry. He says they will not hurt Claire as long as he is still alive. Later, Mason and Venegas get to a town and choose to stay there for the night. Venegas tells Mason something important. He says he was not the person who shot down the helicopter that killed Mason's army friends. Next morning, Venegas explains that, when the American soldiers were invading, he had given up hope and was trying to run away using secret tunnels underground. He explains that the Palonia army did not have the ability to find and shoot down American helicopters. So, he believes it was a mistake from the Americans themselves, that their own side shot the helicopter down. Mason then tells Venegas that Sebastian sent him here to kill him, but Venegas says he already knew that. This shocks Mason. Venegas tells Mason that he wanted Mason to see the situation with his own eyes and then make his own choice. The next day, Cohorst and his soldiers also come to the same town. So Mason thinks of a plan to rescue Claire. The plan is to offer Venegas to Cohorst in return for Claire. Venegas walks out in front of Cohorst, acting like he is ready to give himself up. But then the situation changes completely. Thousands of local people come into the streets to stand up for Venegas and keep him safe. The private army only wanted to capture Venegas. They cannot shoot at the normal people because that would make them lose the support of the country's population. In the middle of all the confusion, Venegas, Mason, and Claire go to an underground tunnel. They use this tunnel to secretly get into the presidential palace. Inside the president's office, they find Jorge sitting by himself. He is very frightened when he sees his uncle. Claire starts a live video on her phone. Venegas tells his nephew not to be scared of him. He says they can work together to keep the country safe. Hearing this, Jorge understands he did a bad thing. He starts to cry, then he hugs his uncle and says he is sorry. A few moments later, one of the army generals walks into the room. Right away he shoots Venegas. Jorge becomes very angry and he shoots the general but misses. As the general shoots back at Jorge, Venegas shots at the general and kills him, but Jorge also gets killed. It is revealed that Venegas was wearing a suit that stops bullets. Venegas is very sad about his nephew's death. Soon, many soldiers come into the room and surround him. They are all aiming their guns at him, but Venegas tells them calmly that he is their president, not their enemy. He tells them this is their country, and they are not terrorists. He says they are soldiers whose job is to protect the nation. Venegas gives a powerful speech, and all the soldiers are moved by what he says. Suddenly, Cohorst arrives with his own soldiers, but the Palonia soldiers turn around and point their guns at Cohorst. They start to fight the hired soldiers to keep their president safe. At the same time, Sebastian also arrives in Palonia with his own men to help Mason. Mason is glad to see Sebastian. A big gunfight begins. Claire keeps recording everything on her phone for her live video. A short time later, Cohorst finds Mason and starts to hit him. He tells Mason that he was the one who shot down the helicopter and killed Mason's army friends. This makes Mason very angry. The two men start to fight each other very violently. After a hard fight, Cohorst gets the upper hand and is ready to kill Mason. At that moment, Claire hits Cohorst on the head, which hurts him. The other hired soldiers are still coming for them, so Mason picks up a big, powerful gun. He shoots all of the soldiers while Claire records the whole thing with her phone. After everything that happened, Claire's brave video is shown on news channels everywhere in the world. The next day, at a press conference, President Venegas decides to leave his position as dictator. He says there will be a public election for a new leader the next year. In the last scene, Mason goes back to the United States and sees his family again. He says he is sorry to Jenny, and tells her he wants to make their marriage better. Later, Mason looks at his bank account. He sees that Venegas sent him $5 million as a thank you for all his help. With this money, Mason finds a new reason for his life. His new purpose is to be with his family and spend more time with them. And that's the end of the story. If you enjoy this video, please press the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to this channel. See you in the next video.